They didn't raise you. They engineered you. From the moment you were born, the world wrapped its chains around your psyche, soft, invisible, and polite at first. A smile here, a rule there, a reward if you're quiet, a punishment if you question. They called it discipline. But what they were really doing was domesticating your fire. Your mind wasn't nurtured. It was conditioned. School wasn't a place to learn truth. It was the first prison. Not of walls, of thought. You didn't learn to think. You learned to memorize. You didn't learn to lead. You learned to follow. They told you what to believe, what to fear, who to obey. And every time you questioned that script, they called it bad behavior. But what they really meant was this. You are starting to wake up. And that's dangerous. Because if you really think for yourself, you'll stop fitting into the game. And the game only works if everyone plays their part, blind and obedient. So they buried your will under systems of reward and shame. They broke your natural instincts. Your hunger for truth, called defiance. Your curiosity, labeled as disruption. Your inner fire, diagnosed as a disorder. And worst of all, they made you thank them for it. You were taught to sit quietly while lesser minds dictated your reality. To accept mediocrity in the name of stability. To kill your soul slowly as long as you smiled while doing it. But listen closely. There's a reason your mind still aches in silence. A reason you wake up feeling like you're living someone else's life. A reason the world feels hollow, fake, and rigged. You were never meant to be a slave to this machine. But you were trained to become one. Trained through repetition. Trained through fear. Trained through manipulation masked as morality. They fed you the lie of normal. Normal school. Normal job. Normal life. A system built to mold you into something useful to them, not powerful to yourself. And here's the darkest truth. The more obedient you became, the more successful they said you were. But what is that success built on? Self-betrayal, emotional suppression, mental sedation. You were sculpted into a pawn and handed a medal for it. They told you the goal was to be a good person. But they never defined good. They just meant docile, predictable, easy to control. You see, the system doesn't need powerful thinkers. It needs predictable consumers. Not rebels. Not warriors. Not free minds. It's not a conspiracy. It's design. Because a mind that obeys is profitable. But a mind that questions? That's dangerous. That's unpredictable. That's powerful. And that's why they fear you. Not you as you are now, broken, doubting, numb. They fear the version of you that remembers. The one buried under years of mental programming. The one who was never meant to bow. But here's the brutal truth. You are responsible for staying in the cage. Because after the early years of training, the bars are no longer physical. They're mental, psychological, voluntary. You say you want freedom, but you still fear rejection. You say you want truth, but you still seek approval. You're fighting to protect the same prison that's draining your soul. That's how good they are. So the real war is not outside you. It's inside your mind. And it starts when you stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, who taught me to think this way and why? Because the moment you realize that your thoughts were never fully your own, is the moment you begin to steal your mind back. Not gently, not politely, but ruthlessly. This isn't self-help. This is psychological warfare. And you're standing at the front line, between who you were trained to be, and who you were born to become. They never needed to beat you into obedience. They just needed to train your nervous system to fear freedom. And they did it with precision. Not with whips. With praise. Not with chains. With validation. Not with open threats. But with subtle rewiring of how you react, think, speak, and feel about yourself. Let's break the illusion. You weren't just taught facts in school. You were taught what to feel good about. And what to feel shame about. You were conditioned to need permission to act. To ask for approval before speaking your truth. To suppress your instincts in the name of being liked. That's not education. That's psychological engineering. And now, you're still living by that programming. Even as an adult, you seek safety in rules. You crave validation before you move. You shrink your power to avoid making others uncomfortable. And here's why. They hijack the deepest layer of your psyche. Your associative emotional memory. That ancient system in your brain that connects pleasure and pain to behavior. It's the lever all manipulators use. Punish the truth. Reward the lie. Repeat it until the mind obeys without question. So now you sabotage yourself, not because you're weak, but because you've been trained to link truth to danger. You were taught that honesty gets you rejected. That power makes you arrogant. That rebellion makes you ungrateful. And so you live in quiet compliance, clapping for your own destruction, smiling as your real self dies a little more each day. Here's how it works. You're praised when you follow. You're shamed when you resist. You're isolated when you think differently. You're rewarded for playing small. They didn't break you, they trained you to break yourself. And now, every time you try to rise, your own mind punishes you. You feel guilt for wanting more. You feel anxiety for standing out. You feel fear for simply being authentic. That is not your natural mind. That's programmed obedience. Because the truth is, the system is not built to free you. It's built to keep you predictable. Think about it. If your emotions can be manipulated, your actions can be predicted. If your thoughts can be programmed, your life can be controlled. And most people will never realize it. Because they mistake comfort for freedom. They confuse routine with peace. They mistake sedation for sanity. But the real you is still buried underneath the lies. Still restless. Still defiant. Still burning. And that's why you feel torn. Because one part of you wants to break free. But the other part has been trained to pull you back. That is the war within. Not between good and evil, but between programmed obedience and primal sovereignty. And to win it, you must do what terrifies the average mind. You must question your conditioning. You must identify every belief that was installed without your consent. You must kill every rule that was placed in you just to keep you small. Here's how you start. Every time you hesitate, ask yourself why. Is the fear real? Or is it a trained response from years of invisible punishment? Every time you seek approval, ask yourself from whom? Who owns your sense of worth? Who gave them that power? Every time you self-sabotage, ask, who benefits from your silence? Because someone always does. You must become a brutal archaeologist of your mind, excavating every mental structure, challenging every inherited belief, burning every false truth that keeps you tame. Because freedom doesn't come from affirmations. It comes from psychological rebellion. You don't manifest your power. You reclaim it from the wreckage of who they trained you to be. And make no mistake, they won't applaud when you do. The system punishes awakenings. Friends might mock you. Family might guilt you. Society will call you dangerous. Good. Be dangerous. Because if they're comfortable with your choices, you're probably still trapped. You were not born to be understood. You were born to be free. And freedom doesn't feel safe. It feels like burning everything they told you was sacred. It feels like standing alone in a world of obedient minds. But in that loneliness, you find something they can never take from you. Your mind, unchained. Your fire, untamed. Your soul, undivided. The training is deep, but not permanent. And in the next chapter we go deeper. Into the dark rituals of untraining. The psychological tactics to erase the obedience code and restore your original mind. If they trained your mind through repetition, shame, and subtle fear, then you must untrain it with something far more brutal. Radical mental discipline. Not the kind taught in productivity books. Not the soft, polished rituals of self-help. But the raw, inner war rituals of reclaiming sovereignty. Here's the truth most people will never accept. The chains in your mind will not fall off on their own. You must rip them off, one thought at a time. This isn't healing. This is mental exorcism. Let's begin. Step 1. Psychological starvation. Cut off all sources of mental poison. The media you consume. The voices you follow. The environments that praise obedience. Every time you allow weak input into your mind, you reinforce weak thought patterns. You don't need more inspiration. You need mental detox. Block the noise. Starve the lies. Create a vacuum so your real thoughts can surface again. Silence is not emptiness. It's resistance training for the soul. Step 2. Cognitive rebellion. Every belief must be interrogated. Write this down. If I wasn't trained to believe this, would I still believe it? Then take every assumption you've inherited about success, about love, about work, about morality, about yourself, and put it on trial. Every belief must justify itself. If it can't survive your fire, it deserves to burn. Because most of what you call your truth was installed by someone who benefits from your compliance. Interrogate everything, even the thoughts that feel right, especially those. Step 3. Emotional reprogramming. They conditioned your nervous system to fear freedom. You must now train it to associate power with pleasure again. It's called counter-conditioning. Every time you do something bold, celebrate it. Every time you speak truth, amplify it. Every time you reject approval, reward yourself internally. Why? Because obedience lives in your emotions, not your logic. If your body still flinches when you disobey, you're not free, you're just pretending. So create new emotional anchors. Make rebellion feel good. Make truth feel safe. Make obedience feel repulsive. This isn't motivation. It's psychological warfare. Step 4. Controlled isolation. Not loneliness, strategic solitude. Why? Because the herd cannot untrain you. They are the program. Your environment reinforces the default. You must vanish for a while, not physically but mentally. Withdraw from conversations that numb you. Disconnect from feedback loops that sedate you. Step out of the echo chamber of the trained mind. Solitude is dangerous because in it you hear your real voice. And that voice doesn't beg for permission. It commands. Step 5. Self-authority rituals. This is not about becoming a rebel. It's about becoming your own master. You must create personal rituals that replace the obedience code. Wake up early not because a guru said so, but because your inner general demands it. Speak truth not because it's trendy, but because your soul rots in silence. Train your body not for aesthetics, but to build an unshakable will. Discipline must become your religion. But not the discipline they taught you. Not for grades. Not for gold stars. For dominion over self. That is where the untraining becomes permanent. When your identity shifts from a conditioned responder to a conscious commander. And here's the brutal paradox. To become mentally free, you must first become mentally militant. Because if you don't command your mind, someone else will. The world is full of smiling tyrants. Marketers, teachers, friends. They don't need to chain you. They just need to influence you enough to keep you passive. But when you master your inner code, you become untouchable. You stop reacting. You start dictating. You stop begging for clarity. You create it. You stop chasing approval. You become the source. But make no mistake, this path will cost you everything soft. Comfort, validation, belonging. It will exile you from the cult of the trained. But in that exile, you will remember who you were before they taught you to bow. You were not made to fit in. You were made to command yourself. And in part 4 we complete the transformation. The final war. Burning the old self. Building the indomitable one. The sovereign. The master of mind. The one they always feared you'd become. You were not born obedient. You were born untamed. Instinctive. Aware. Wild with truth. But layer by layer. They coated your mind with lies, with fears, with scripts. They taught you to kneel, until you forgot how to stand. They buried your authority under years of silence. But silence does not mean surrender. It means something ancient is waiting to rise. This is not motivation. This is the ritual of rebirth through destruction. Because to become sovereign, you must first kill every false version of you. Let's begin. Step 1. Burn the obedient identity. You are not who you pretend to be in public. You are not the one who plays nice to be accepted. You are not the version of yourself designed to be digestible. All of that is obedience in disguise. Burn it. Kill the smile that hides fear. Kill the voice that avoids conflict. Kill the posture that shrinks to stay safe. Write this on your mirror. I would rather be feared for my truth than loved for my obedience. Because the self you cling to, the one shaped by approval, is the enemy of the one you were meant to become. Step 2. Adopt ruthless self-command. You are no longer waiting for instructions. No longer hoping for direction. You are the source of clarity now. Every morning you issue orders to yourself. Every night, you audit your own mind like a general reviewing a battlefield. No excuses. No pity. No softness for weakness. If you fall into passivity, punish it. If you hesitate on your truth, confront it. If you seek comfort, deny it. You are not your feelings. You are your commands. Because obedience dies when self-command becomes your default state. Step 3. Become psychologically anti-fragile. The trained mind breaks under pressure. The sovereign mind feeds on it. You must flip the script. Rejection? Fuel. Isolation? Power. Failure? Refinement. Conflict? Confirmation. They trained you to avoid pain. But pain is a purifier. It reveals who you really are. So chase the fire. Walk toward the discomfort. Do what you've been trained to fear. Because what you fear is where your real mind was buried. Step 4. Operate from inner law. There is only one authority now, your code. Not society. Not tradition. Not culture. You craft your own rules. You live by an inner constitution forged from war, reflection, and brutal truth. You don't follow trends, you create standards. You don't ask, is this allowed? You ask, does this align with the warlord I'm becoming? If not, kill it. Burn it. Exile it from your kingdom. Step 5. Final cut. Sever the need to be liked. This is the final chain. The most sacred leash they wrapped around your neck. The addiction to being liked. The need to be seen as good. The obsession with approval. Break it now. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them gossip. Let them reject you. If you still need them to clap for your evolution, you're still inside the cage. Freedom is not glamorous. It's not aesthetic. It's lonely, violent, raw, but it's real. And that's what you were trained to never touch. Because the fully awakened mind cannot be controlled. It cannot be sold to. It cannot be guilt-tripped. It cannot be broken. That's why they fear this path. That's why most will never walk it. But you? You've come too far to bow now. You've burned your false self. You've torn the scripts. You've silenced the noise. And now, you walk as a sovereign among slaves. Untrained, untamed, unapologetically dangerous. This isn't just mindset. It's mental warfare. And you just won your first war. But remember this. The world doesn't stop trying to retrain you. So never stop commanding yourself. This is Shadowcraft. And now, you are the weapon.